Thank you very much. This manual started when we developed a political education source book, and the source book has been in use since the year 2022. The source book contains information. We brought all information that is relevant to various stakeholders under one roof. That source book was targeting the political party officials. It is also targeting the SIGs. The SIGs, we mean the women, the youth, and the persons with disability. It was also targeting the general citizenry. We want to empower the general citizenry as an office of Registrar of Political Parties. And the source book also was also targeting the aspirants and candidates. The office has found it necessary to further unpack that source book because it was quite heavy. We found it necessary to unpack it. And in unpacking, we've also found it further necessary to do a specific training manual for persons with disability. That manual is what we are here to launch, and it has also been transcribed into Braille. So we have the manual in the normal versions, and we also have the manual in Braille, and that is what we are here to launch. The manual is designed to provide people with disability in Kenya with a comprehensive understanding of the political landscape and equip them with the knowledge and skills necessary to effectively participate and engage in political processes.
The manual is actually a product of a broader initiative that the office has started with the production of the political education source book. That is, you've been told by my colleague. And it is a comprehensive guide for persons with disabilities to ensure that they are able to participate in political processes and take a role and leadership within the political sphere. I want us to be reminded of the wisdom of Mahatma Gandhi when he said the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. This manual actually, with a theme from the sidelines to the center stage, speaks directly to that aspiration. So feel comfortable, feel at home, and let's engage. So let us join, all of us, let's join hands, and together, let's move PWDs from the sidelines to the center stage of Kenya's political process. That is the message we are sending home today. At this juncture, allow me to take this singular honor to invite the Registrar of Political Parties.
It's my singular honor to really thank you for finding time to come and grace this occasion and participate in the occasion of the launch of the manual. The gathering of various stakeholders today in the launch of this manual signifies a collective commitment to ensuring that the voices and the concerns of persons with disability are not only heard, but also actively represented within the political landscape of our country. I acknowledge the effort being made by various other stakeholders in the strengthening disability and inclusion in various spheres of life, including within electoral and political processes. And I know we are also working with various stakeholders on many other initiatives that affect disability. Ladies and gentlemen, participation of persons with disability in political parties and public life is a right provided by law. When PWD participate in political and public life, their voice is heard and reflected in policy and decision making. Kenya, like many other nations, have made strides towards inclusivity. Yet much remains to be done, particularly in the realm of political representations for persons with disability as well as other special interest groups. I want to identify with the sentiment of one of the person with disability who have actually said sometimes we lump people with disability together. When we say special interest groups, we are not also able to isolate and address their specific matters because we have lumped them together. And I think it's the high time we think of strategic initiatives that we shall do to ensure that they are really not lumped together and then their issues are lost. Especially when we have 21 counties without representation of persons with disability, it is the high time we also think on how we look at the legal framework. I know IBC try as much as possible to be inclusive when they are doing the party list. But without the enabling law to close that gap, then we still have some counties that are really, political parties have not forwarded the names of a person with disability to be included during the process, or rather on how the party lists have been stipulated and planned. I think it's an issue we really need to look. Ladies and gentlemen, with common understanding that the exclusion of persons with disability from various aspects of life typically stems from a combination of factors rather than a single source. These factors are interconnected and mutually reinforcing, creating complex barriers to inclusion. Some common contributors to exclusion include physical, economic, social, legal, policy, attitudinal, and cultural barriers, among many other things. Part of it, starting out, is stereotype and stigma. And I think as we focus on training about inclusion in the political process, we must deal with attitudes and we must deal with barriers that relate to stereotypes. And for that, we shall be bringing all of us together to make significant contribution on the journey of inclusion. While regulation can address certain aspects of inclusion, such as ensuring fair representation in political party structures, which we really try to enforce, it is not sufficient on its own to achieve full inclusion. Thus, many stakeholders must be involved. I therefore call upon all the stakeholders working in the disability sector. We come together and look for, beyond taking the box of compliance, what is it that we can do together to ensure meaningful participation? Through capacity building programs for party leadership and person with disability, review of party constitution, policy work plan, nomination rules, we shall ensure that the law is followed. One of the issues that is very significant to us is the performance of the person with disability rigs within political parties, where it is expected that any person interested in participating in elections should actually be a member of the disability rigs. And the political parties are called upon to ensure that the disability rigs are working and they are responsive to the needs of persons with disability, especially those ones who want to participate in the electoral process. Together, we can foster a future where persons with disability not only participate in politics but thrive within it. As we look to the future, let us envision a Kenya where every individual, regardless of their abilities, have the opportunity to contribute to the political life of our nation. Our clarion call to all stakeholders: let us build a political landscape that is reflect the rich diversity of our society and serve the interest of all the us, including persons with disability. Let us affirm our commitment to the principles of equality, equity, justice, and dignity to all. Let us work together to build a more inclusive and vibrant democracy for generations to come. Thank you very much, and our trainings and every person who shall participate, we shall have more numbers in the ballot paper and also as elected leaders. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, allow me be upstanding as we welcome Senator Dr. Maora, the government spokesman, and our chief guest today. Thank you very much. And in my chance to that tune, a bit
Distinguished guests, fellow leaders, Members of the disability community, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is with great honor that I stand before you here today at this pivotal moment in our democratic journey as we launch the political party's Persons with Disabilities Manual, the first in the history of the Republic of Kenya. Let's clap for that. So Registrar, congratulations. It has never happened before. We may have bits and pieces, as Mudomi said, but today we have a manual that can be the Bible of how to ensure political education for persons with disabilities in Kenya. This is more than just a document. It is a guide to inclusion, a symbol for progress, and a testament to our collective resolve to make Kenya's political landscape accessible to all citizens. Around 1 billion people in the world live with some form of disability. This is nearly 15% of the global population. We must recognize that their rights, like those of any other citizen, are integral to our democratic processes. Their inclusion is not only a moral imperative, but a legal obligation under international law, like the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. I speak here today knowing that our journey to inclusive politics is grounded on the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, but also your individual and collective activism. This landmark document, therefore, aggregates our experiences as persons with disabilities and what we know of politics. As they say, politics organizes society. Corruption disorganizes politics. This document is really an enabler of guaranteeing our human rights and fundamental freedoms as enshrined in the CRPD, Article 29. It ensures that we live with dignity, participate in society fully, and be treated as equal partners or Kenyans or people under the law. This particular Article 29 of the CRPD emphasizes that persons with disabilities have the right to take part in political processes and to stand for elections. This includes the right to vote as well, and also to ensure that there is no discrimination in such processes. When persons with disabilities participate in politics, they do contribute to building a world that is fairer and more accessible to everyone. Their unique perspective helps in creating policies that reflect the true diversity of society and foster inclusive governance. I look forward to a day that Kenyans will elect a person with disability as the President of the Republic of Kenya. It is possible. It is possible, my good brothers and sisters. Let us not undermine ourselves. Let us not look at ourselves and say, we are just part of the appendage. We have what it takes to lead not only the issues of persons with disabilities, but also to ensure that we provide alternative models and ways of doing things for all Kenyans across board. That is not going to happen by mere wishful thinking. It is going to come from selflessly joining political parties, but also not just sitting there and titles, but also actively running for elections in those political parties. Some of you remember how I ran to be Deputy SG of ODM in the now all too famous Men in Black Kasarani. Yeah, you remember? They say the white man with the men in black. But also to run for offices. And you also remember I was the first person with albinism to run for a parliamentary seat in the Republic of Kenya. Kenya is not an exception. We cannot hope to build a fair, just and democratic society if any group is left behind. Our contribution to the Constitution of Kenya was to ensure that we secure our own representation in Parliament, something that had not happened prior to the 2013 elections. Let's clap for ourselves for that. Indeed, we participated in making the Constitution, and I was privileged to be in the reference group, To ensure that we have equality and non-discrimination, Article 5 of the CRPD, and in particular, that we have clauses or articles like Article 27 on non-discrimination as well, Article 54 that is specific to persons with disabilities, Article 81 that calls for fair representation of PWDs, and also Article 97, 98 which guarantee our seats in Parliament, Article 100 which is yet to be fully implemented, and Article 177 that secures a representation in county assemblies. We have mentioned 18 times in the current constitution. Yet, we are yet to achieve that which we want to achieve. So this manual that we are launching today is designed to bridge the gap between legislation and practical implementation, between the constitution and actual facts on the ground, so that we speak to the hearts and minds of the people, and indeed also the stomach. Because politics is about he who gets what, where, and how. Politics is the informal that constitutes the formal. It serves as a comprehensive resource for political parties, guiding them on how to make their processes, structures, and policies more inclusive, from accessible voting booths to providing Kenya Sign Language interpreters at party meetings and other nitty-gritties where the rubber meets the road. This manual outlines specific actions that parties can take to ensure that persons with disabilities are not only included, but are also active participants in shaping the future of our country. It provides insights on recruiting and retaining persons with disabilities at party level, but also for them to become party members. But not just party members, but also party leaders. The need for accessible campaign platforms and also language, so that they are not demeaned or referred to as objects of pity, or those who cannot participate because they cannot hear or see. That has been very rampant in our political jargon. How to create policies that genuinely reflect the need for disability community inclusion. Most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, this manual is critical because it highlights the role that political parties and governments that are formed out of political parties, and the role of the civil society as a watchdog play in order to ensure that we achieve this together. I am particularly pleased because this manual is a reflection of the many voices represented in this room and beyond, our own aspirations, but most importantly, our own collective vision for a better Kenya. It is a tool that recognizes that there is no better Kenya without the inclusion of persons with disabilities, and that there is no single right that can be achieved when you actually fail to consider the rights of persons with disabilities. When persons with disabilities fully participate, they reduce the burden of dependence, but most importantly, they also add to the innovation and the creativity that is the mosaic of our collective thinking and synergy. We are not just voters, but also leaders and decision makers, and we too know something that can make a difference in our society. This is a significant step towards achieving the full realization of the rights of persons with disabilities in the Kenya political space. This manual is powerful. Why? Because self-advocacy and promotes awareness of our rights, but most importantly, inspiring us as persons with disabilities to demand our rightful place without that feeling of shame or asking for permission. By using this resource, we can find our voices and assert our role in shaping Kenya's future. And so therefore then, what do we need to do? While today is only a momentary celebration of the milestone, it is also a call to action so that we turn the reality that is envisioned in the text, in the script, in the typesetting, in the organization of the material therein, to ensure that we breathe life into it. I urge political parties, civil society, and all of the stakeholders present to take this manual seriously, not just another addition on your shelf. We must integrate it into our political party structures and speak its language and become the new convertees of this new gospel. The government is committed to continuing the support towards the inclusion of persons with disabilities, and that is why in my office I have inclusive communication and development program that we are partnering with to ensure that we amplify the voices and ensure advocacy of persons with disabilities. In conclusion, today we are taking a significant step towards a more inclusive Kenya. The political party's Persons with Disabilities Manual is a beacon of hope and a reminder that when we work together, we can create a society where everyone, regardless of their abilities, can contribute to the political, social, and economic fabric of our nation. Let us commit ourselves to the principle of equality, dignity, and inclusion. Let us ensure that persons with disabilities have a seat at the table. And as it was said here, if you are not at the table, you are on the menu. Let our voices be heard and our contributions be meaningful and valued, and that our rights be respected. Thank you, and may this manual inspire us to build a more inclusive and just Kenya for all. To love persons with disabilities is the greatest extent or exemplification of patriotism and nationhood. Kenya itasimama, Kenya itainuka, Kenya itanawiri kwa umoja na uzalendo. Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo. Je, wewe? Asanteni.
It is a great pleasure for me and an honor for us as Hans Seidel Foundation to be part of today's launch of the manual and the handbook for people with disabilities, which is the result of quite a long journey we are going together with the RPP already as Hans Seidel Foundation. The Office of the Registrar of Political Parties going the extra mile to support and guarantee inclusion of special interest groups, women, youth, and people with disability into the political process. For us, Hans Seidel organization is an organization from Germany close to a political party called the Christian Social Union. So we are experts when it comes to party politics and how parties behave. And in that sense, Germany is very similar to Kenya. Both countries are party democracies. It is very difficult to achieve influence outside of political parties, both in Germany and in Kenya. But with that influence, with that significance of political parties, of course, comes a lot of responsibility. And we are very happy that together with the RPP, we can try to support all that, how political parties should be organized, especially being inclusive, being transparent, and being accountable. Not least for special interest groups, and not least of which, of course, people with disabilities. We just heard that people with disabilities were almost 9% of the registered voters in the last election. That means you are a significant interest group and you are a significant representation of the will of the people of Kenya. And that's what political parties are there for. They are instruments to collect, to act on the political will of the people of Kenya. And that's why the inclusion of people with disabilities in political parties is so important for us and for RPP as well, which we are again happy to support in the original source book of political education, which already has been mentioned, and also in today's launch of the political handbook for people with disabilities. As I heard, that's the first of its kind, the handbook itself, and its Braille version, which we are again very happy to launch today, and to support that to make it even more accessible for people with disabilities. Anastasia shortly explained the content of the book. She was mentioning all the, I think it was chapter 11, if I'm not mistaken, about how to register a political party. And with the discussions with the registrar and with the assistant registrars about how people with disability should be represented. Should there be a specially dedicated party for you? Or should you be represented in the parties which already exist? And the answer, of course, is clear, both. There could and there should be parties with a clear focus to represent the interests of people with disability. But of course, your interests as almost 10% of the voters should be represented in all political parties which are there to be totally represented in parliament, in county assemblies, and in the parties itself, and the decision-making process of the needs. The members of these parties, the voters of the parties, are represented within the given party. And that's why, again, I think this handbook is coming to the right time.
I'm a person with disability chairing UDA, chairperson for person with disability in UDA, Chama Tawala. My experience in political party. One thing I want to appreciate ORPP. Thank you for this program, for this book, so that we can learn. It is very important for persons with disability because we have been participating in political parties because most of persons with disability, when it comes to voter indication, we don't have information how to register as a voter. With this manual, we'll be able to be indicated and we'll be able to bring persons with disability to participate in political party process. Not only participating, but also I hope through this manual, the book, the political party will become more inclusive to persons with disability. Not just registering and bringing the members, but also to be inclusive to persons with disability in decision-making table. Because if we do that, if we are not in the table, we are in the menu. It's high time political parties include persons with disability in decision-making table. Not only just registering and going to vote. Also to add something about SIG. ORP need to look at this word SIG. Why do I use this SIG? Most time, people with disability, like a deaf person, when it comes to, when we focus on SIG, it's youth, women, and minority. We forget about persons with disability. This time, the word SIG also need to be inclusive of persons with disability. When we look at the nominations of persons with disability in most counties, people with disability are missing because of SIG. They choose youth, minority, and then women. They forget about people with disability. We want to see a big change, a big difference. Also, we need to have persons with disability fully represented in political party, fully participating, being nominated at the county level. I don't have much to say. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's now time. The peacefully, beautifully pieced together publication, the political education training manual for persons with disabilities, it is now ready for unveiling.